Namaste, Meena ji.
Namaste, Uma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, Margari Mahotsav is going on everywhere, the sabhas.
Okay. Wow.
Everywhere, kacheris and buzzing with people
Okay.
everywhere.
Nice.
Yes.
How's the weather there now? Is it raining? Or?
No. It is not raining. It is nice. It is pleasant now. It will be sunny in the afternoons and evening. It's fine.
Okay.
So prepared with questions for Rajan ji?
No questions.
Okay.
Because I'm off because only if you keep practicing.
Namaste, Kumar.
Namaste, Kumar ji.
Namaste, doctor.
Namaste,
Dr. Rajan is also here. Namaste, Dr.
Namaste,
Rajan.
everyone.
Namaste, doctor.
Namaste, doctor.
Namaste, doctor.
Namaste.
So he overheard all of you saying there are no questions.
I didn't say. I have one question.
Good.
It's all yours, Dr. Rajan. It's all yours.
Well, whoever
It's all-
asked the question first, right?
Just 1 second. Right back.
Namaste, doctor.
Namaste.
When we do Naivedyam, we say Pranaya Swaha and all the mantras.
Yes.
And what is the significance of these mantras and why
Okay.
do we?
In that case, I will need to share a diagram with you. So hopefully, yes, I can share the screen here. It is important to understand the nature of existence.
Okay.
And the nature of existence, once we know, then in which case all of these things that we do, these practices that we do, become a little more understandable. So 1 second. Yeah, this is what I'm looking at. Okay. So you can see this picture here. If we look at this picture, the level 1 is where Ishvara, God is, right?
Yes.
And level 2 is what is called Prakriti and the subtle creation. And the subtle creation has number of things in it. There is something called the cosmic chitta. In the Sankhya tradition, there is a name given to the cosmic chitta called the Vasudeva. And the chitta is only a processor. And a processor only takes input and gives the output. It has no intention of its own. Whereas the intention or the rules, the programs are given by Prakriti. So Prakriti processes all of its intention through the cosmic chitta. And the cosmic chitta produces many, many small chittas like each one of us. And that all of this in the blue over here is in the subtle zone that you cannot access through any scientific, instruments that you can know at this time. But this is the created, and this is the uncreated, unmanifest, the level 1, God. So this is the first level of manifestation. But this first level of manifestation is something that you cannot see in the in the world that we live in. So this is level 2. Then the level 3 you have over here is there are 2 elements in it. This, whatever is the information, that is created in this chitta, that is whatever it processes all the karma kleshas, when they enter the physical body, they start from like the fourth dimension that we don't know what it is. From there, when it enters the three-dimensional world we know, the first thing it comes is in the form of vibrations. And the vibration is in the nature where you feel with your three fingers your nadi, the biowell reading. It is in the same nature of how our mobile phone works. It is by vibration it is communicating. So it enters the electromagnetic field over here, and when it enters the physical body, it makes you whoever you are, right?
Okay.
So the level 3 of the physical body plus the vibration that you can measure in the electromagnetic spectrum, this constitute level 3. And why am I talking about level 1, 2, 3? When we say Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, right? So the Om is the connector of all of these. Om connects you directly to Ishvara. Okay? And Bhu means this physical world. Bhuva means this level 2. And Swa refers to our true nature coming out of Ishvara. So, in the context of this, when you do the Naivedyam, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, and then you say Om Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasa Dhimai Diyo Yona Prachodayat Devasavita Prasva Satyantatena Parishinjami Amrdo Bastarnamasi Pranaya Swa Apanaya Swa Vyanaya Swa Udanaya Swa Samanaya Swa Brahmanaya Swa. So what you're doing is the Gayatri that you say Om Bhurvasa Om Tatsavitur Varenyam, the thing is basically Om Tatsavitur Varenyam refers to the light of Savita, that is the Surya. Tat Savitur Varenyam, the luster of that light. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. So you are asking for the enlightenment of the highest level that Devas can experience, Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. And from that enlightenment, may you prachodayat is to express yourself. The idea of expressing yourself is when you come into this body, you are here to fulfill for the cosmic purpose whatever is your swadharma. So that expression is related to your dharmic role for which you are born in this body. So to fulfill your dharma. So in the Gayatri Mantra, you are only saying that with connecting into the three levels of existence that we are in, may we have the enlightenment whereby we are able to fulfill the purpose of our swadharma. And then after that, what you're doing is you're basically letting this whatever food you have over there, right, to be offered for this purpose, for fulfillment of the swadharma, to nourish your swadharma. Whatever you need, you're offering it, and you're offering it in terms of the core communications that give you the nutrition. That is, the 5 communications are prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. So you're asking that to be nourished. Now, when you ask as Naivedyam, this is something you do for every meal you have. But when you are doing it in terms of Naivedyam, there is a very special name used for Naivedyam. That special word used for Naivedyam is prasadam, right? What is the meaning of prasadam? Anybody?
Prasadam.
Is the offering?
No.
Or the
Okay, let me give you a little hint over here. You see, when we use the word, anytime the pra as a prefix comes, it means prakrishta. Prakrishta means what is connected to the core, Prakrishta Kriti is Prakriti. Kriti means, a composition, a creation, right? So all of you from the South Indian background, when you think in terms of musical composition, you call it a Kriti, right?
Right.
Yes.
So Prakriti is what is a creation that is connected to the core of existence, right? So what is the meaning of prasada, prakrishta sada?
So that
That is
food that is
Feeding to the
connected to the core.
core.
Or, sorry, go ahead, go much.
No, that offering which is connected to the core of creation.
That is correct. But on the other hand, the second part is what gives you the true meaning.
Sadam.
Yes.
Sadam is plain rice, but when we offer
No,
when we get
no,
back,
No.
when we get back, it is prasadam.
And but yeah, you can put it that way, but the real element of the sadam is actually related to the idea of an enabler. Sadhya. Sadhya means what enables, what makes you do,
What is possible?
what is
Some-
possible. So the concept of prasadam is what enables you to be in sync with your cosmic purpose. That is, by offering that becomes something as the enabler of your swadharma. That is the meaning of prasadam. Right?
It's basically enabling you to fulfill the purpose.
Swadharma.
Exactly. And so that is why in the first sutra, in the first pada of the Yoga Sutras, I believe it is somewhere like around Sutra 33 or so. You have the thing, element is, once you that Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, right? When
Yes.
you get over there, when it says, when you create that moderation in your attitude, it gives you chitta prasadanam.
Hmm.
Yes.
The idea is
Yes.
that it
Yes.
becomes for you, your chitta becomes aligned with your swadharma. The concept of prasada is very subtle. The concept is all linked to swadharma. And in the context of the three levels of existence.
Prasada Bhukti is basically that we call that, right? We say it, Prasad, creating that attitude towards it's given to you. There must be a purpose, like a Prasada Bhukti. Is that
Swadharma.
okay?
I made you think a lot.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Oh, you're welcome. I probably gave you too complicated an answer.
No, but actually we are hearing all your question answer session, all those, on the last week you had given this for the, why do we do all these exercises? I heard that was also very good. We could understand better now.
So how is
Thank you so
Bhuvana doing?
Bhuvana, Bhuvana is just in that, somewhat in that same state.
Ah, okay.
Dr. Rajan,
Hmm.
is there any difference between an avatar and an incarnation?
Incarnation is an English word. An incarnation has an entirely different meaning from the concept of avatar.
Mm.
Incarnation means simply a reproduction.
Hmm.
Okay?
Just a rebirth.
Yeah. Whereas the word avatar is a completely different meaning. Ava means to protect. And the idea of tar is something that is the enabler of protection. So the thing is basically an avatar concept is that enabler of protection of dharma, the flow of dharma. So that is the reason. Right in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, you have yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, right?
Yes.
So tadatmanam srijamyaham. The idea is that whenever in the cosmic flow, the flow of dharma, the cosmic dharma is violated, then the being that comes to protect and put back the dharma in the right flow, that is called avatar. Avatar concept has nothing to do with how spiritually connected that avatar is. Okay? It is only an enabler to set the dharma flow in the right direction. So the thing is, for instance, like very few people realize the avatar with the highest level of spiritual connectivity among all the avatars we speak of is actually Narasimha avatar. And only after that comes Krishna.
Yes.
And the interesting part is, if you look among all these elements, the level of connectivity of some of the avatars are pretty low. But that doesn't matter, because what happens is even the Atma Vidya of some of them are pretty low. But that doesn't matter. They still fulfill their role. Their role, like for
Sri Rama is an example.
yes. So fulfill the role. So that's all that matters.
So much thought has been put into that movie by James Cameron, then Avatar. In fact, I was watching it with my daughter, Dr. Naran, yesterday, the second part. A lot of Patanjali Yoga Sutras connectivity were there. For example, in one scene, they have this tree which is kind of conscious in their land. So they hook it up. So basically, you're connected to that Mother Superior. And the character was able to go back and see what happened to her mom. The scenes are depicted in that way, like how I was seeing, like there are a lot of siddhis where you have explained to us that you can go back and check the previous birth and all. So it's amazing. I'm sure he got a lot of text from Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
See, what happens is, you don't need to get it specifically from Yoga Sutras. Yoga is the experiential domain. Right? Yoga is not about assumptions. In fact, what it is the only reason for, if you look at the Yoga Sutras, the Yoga Sutra is because it is based for the person who is a seeker, how to guide them. The Yoga Sutra is only focused on what a seeker needs to know. Okay? So whether it is the first pada, second pada, or third pada, they are all only focused on what the seeker needs to know. But what will also happen is the seeker will ask few more questions. Why this, why that, how is everything else? So that's why you have the fourth pada. But it doesn't get into the details like the Sankhya Sutra about how the first chitta got created, and from there everything else, how they came. The name of the first chitta is Vasudeva, all of this, it doesn't get into that level of detail. Because what a person simply needs to know is, how do I go and how do I go and directly experience it? Yoga is the path of direct experience. So the key part is, it gives you In fact, if you look into the Yoga Sutras, there are probably, I would say, 2 or 3 sutras over there, which are the real embodiment of the message of the Yoga Sutras. Just 1 second. Sorry. So the thing is, the few sutras, like for example, in the first pada, the most important sutra is Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, and the next one is no, the key one is the is Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Tat Nirodha. That is one sutra that is telling you the real method of the yogic approach. Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Tat Nirodha. The next element, which is one of the, actually I consider that as even more important, is the first sutra of the second pada. Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is the understanding of Swadharma, the base of existence. When we come into this body, we are born to fulfill certain things. So Kriya Yoga is the nature of ideal existence. Kriya Yoga essentially assumes Yama and Niyama. And Yama and Niyama is the basis of how life is fulfilled, and you can go into the highest level of realization. Yama and Niyama, the Kriya Yoga, and what you read in the Mahamrityunjaya mantra that comes towards the end of the Rudram, right? Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiv bandhanat mrityor mukshiyama amritat, right? So that is an embodiment of that. If you look at, can anybody explain what I am saying over here, the connection between the Kriya Yoga, the idea of Yama and Niyama and the Swadharma, and this concept of the Mahamrityunjaya mantra? Can anybody explain what the linkage is?
The feeling of vairagya, because in Mrityunjaya mantra again it says about Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urva Rugamiva, just like a ripe cucumber that is just connected to the creeper and does not take any energy from the, and if you just touch it, it will just fall out. That kind of a detachment in life, just being aware.
You're only focusing on one element out of the 3 parts in the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. There are 3 parts in the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. First part is Trayambakam Yajamahe. Second part is Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. Only then the third part comes that you are explaining, right? So the key part in the Mahamrityunjaya mantra is when you talk of the Trayambakam, that is the 3 eyes of your existence, which is the 3 levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, the chart I showed you. That is the Trayambakam, the 3 eyes of our existence. Okay? And so one who is the originator of the 3 eyes of our existence, to that being we worship, we seek to connect. And that is the concept of Ishvara Pranidhana. And so we are connecting over there. And then what? Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. Sugandhim means to good smell. Pushtivardhanam, to blossom and, be well nourished. Right? So what is the meaning of Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam? In order to fulfill your life is to be fulfilled with your doing your Swadharma. in flow with the needs of the cosmos, right? Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. So having fulfilled all your swadharma, at the end of the life, you fall off like a ripe fruit. So that is the concept of the, falling off is the idea of release, moksha. So there are three parts to it. Okay, so now you can come back over there and connect it with the Kriya Yoga, Tapas Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. That is, the Kriya Yoga is the word used for Karma Yoga. We are born for karma in this body. That's why the body is there. So, when there is the attitude of Ishvara Pranidhana, that is when you're completely, letting go, surrendering everything to Ishvara, right? Then in which case, that is the same idea of Trayambakam Yajame, right? So when you do that Ishvara Pranidhana, then you seek to know why everything that you engage in life, and that is Swadhyaya. And what happens is, when you are living your life with Ishvara Pranidhana and Swadhyaya, automatically your reactivity becomes less to everything you encounter in life, which means it results in purification, the tapas element, which is purification of the karma kleshas within you. And so that results in what? At the end of the lifetime, urvaruka vimeva bandhanat mrityor mukshiyama amritat. Right? So you can see the relationship over there. And this concept comes very much from the concept of yama and niyama. You see, within the yama, the most important of the yama is brahmacharya. And the idea of brahmacharya is to seek curiosity to know what is the nature of existence. The concept of brahmacharya is initial exploration, whereas swadhyaya is later seeking. Initial exploration of brahmacharya is in the nature of how a child, if you look at a small child, everything it is observing, it is attracted to, it wants to know more and more, wants to put its hand everywhere it shouldn't, right? And wants to explore everything, what is the nature of existence and world. So when it's thinking in terms of what is the nature of existence and the world, it is seeking to know. Swadhyaya is slightly different. Swadhyaya is seeking to know, why is this happening to me? Why is that happening to me? That's a slightly different element from the aspect of seeking to know everything. Brahmacharya is seeking to know everything you see. And so the niyama, as you know, is shaucha santosha tapaswadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani. Ishvara pranidhana are the 5 niyamas, right?
Yes.
And you can see in the niyamas, you have the same 3 elements out of the 5. Only thing added is the shaucha and santosha. Otherwise, you have tapas, swadhyaya and ishvara pranidhana is the common between that and the kriya yoga. So now you can understand the relationship between the kriya yoga, the yama niyama, as well as the mahamrityunjaya mantra and the concept of swadharma and release. In fact, I consider that kriya yoga statement as the single most important message of the Yoga Sutras. Of course, the method is, the idea of abhyasa vairagya abhyam tat nirodha. And then, of course, following from all of this, it depends upon what context you're looking at, but there are some other statements which are usually helpful too. Like, for example, in the when people ask what is the nature of all these siddhis that people get, it is only there to fulfill your dharma. And if you get carried away by it, then in which case you're losing really sight of where the ultimate goal is of understanding. So there are few of them over there that are more meaningful, but the whole purpose of life is to fulfill your swadharma. And that is why the Kriya Yoga I consider as the most important one sutra in the entire of the Yoga Sutras.
So in Ramayana, Vishwamitra will take Lakshmana, and before going to the forest for some homa, a big yajna that he was doing, he will teach them how to overcome thirst and hunger. So that kind of a siddhi that he teaches them, that means, the guru must know what kind of a siddhi his disciples can acquire.
What is needed for their swadharma. So it was their swadharma to protect the yajna, and
Okay.
so that siddhi was needed. And that is expressed in the Yoga Sutras in the third pada, Kantakupe Chutpipasa Nivritti.
No, what I'm saying is he will not pick anybody else who cannot get, who will not be able to get that kind of a siddhi, right?
Yes, the Rama Lakshmana needed that siddhi.
Yes.
And actually, you can also understand the Vishwamitra had that insight that they needed that siddhi. And think of it, that siddhi was a great enabler when they had to do the 14 years of vanavas, because at that point in time, the ability to get food in the right place, right time, and all of that was not there, right?
Yes.
So you can understand how in life things come to you, and at that point in time you may not fully realize why, but then later on it all becomes quite apparent. And it is not necessarily that events in your life be good or bad or whatever. So the concept of that vanavasa is something, actually, without that vanavasa, Rama really did not have any level of spiritual connectivity. But without that vanavasa was a point of, what you would say, swadhyaya and contemplation. And that meditative element that was coming in, that is what gave him a little bit of that connectivity, so that he could go and, take care of Rama.
Ravana. So all these sutras on siddhis, so however one may try with whatever Patanjali Muni is saying, unless they are destined to have it, they are not going to get it.
That is correct.
So is it possible for a person to know what kind of siddhi he will get, or is it something that he will not know until he gets it?
It is highly unlikely that even Vishwamitra knew that this will come in of use for Rama and Lakshmana when they are in the Vanavasa. It is highly unlikely Vishwamitra knew. The nature of intuitive understanding is, you only know this is the right thing to do, but why and why not and all looking into the future, you don't necessarily know all the time. So which means you cannot, it is impossible to know, or generally not possible to know what siddhis will come to you, except for people who are in the highest level. The concept of pratipatti that is explained in the Yoga Sutras, where unaffected by lakshana, time, space, and all of that, you're able to know everything. And that aspect of it is, it goes beyond the samyama. If you understand, samyama requires you to do dharana on some point of focus.
Yes.
But on the other hand, without doing any samyama, you know whatever you know everything. That is of a different category from any samyama. That is the highest.
So this is close to Nirbija. This is like Nirbija Samadhi.
It is the state of Nirbija Samadhi.
Nirbija. Yes,
But
yes.
on the other hand, the Nirbija Samadhi is only see, what happens is there are 3 levels, and each one is of a different level. Nirbija Samadhi is the first level. Okay? Actually, I should put it this way. There are 2 things that go side by side. Dharma Mega Samadhi and then Nirbija Samadhi. Okay?
Yes.
Whereas on the other hand, this level of Pratipatti is even far beyond that.
Oh, I see.
You see, in Nirbija Samadhi, all you have is you have the connectivity all the time. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have asked all the questions and everything about everything is known to you. You have become, the Atma Vidya has become fully 100%. Whereas once you are in that, it has become 100%. That is the state when you have the Pratipatti state.
Okay.
You see, a good example for you is, for example, is Ramana Maharishi. See, Ramana Maharishi, because for him, he was such a purified soul that he had to mentally ask, who am I? And he got all his answers. But then what happened is, he got all his answers, he was satisfied, and there he was. But on the other hand, he never reached the level of Pratipatti, whereby he could know whatever and everything all the time. And therefore, what happened is, he could never be a good teacher for the ordinary man. Whereas anybody who went to him and asked for Upadesham, he will say, ask yourself, who am I? You will get the answer.
Yes.
For 99.999%, they ask the question, who am I? Nothing happens.
There was
Naturally, the thought is in my mind, Dr. Nara, I don't know whether it's the right thought. Question is, can you give some example of people you know with that Pratipatti state?
I cannot know. I cannot really tell you anybody like that. You see, what happens is, if we go dig into our Puranas, we may find somebody like that. Actually, probably I would guess somebody like Vashishta Muni or somebody might have had that kind of ability. But the reality of it is, if you look at the quality of Vasishtha Muni, right? Vasishtha Muni was a kind of a person who never sought to display or show any of his abilities or anything. Okay? Whereas on the other hand was Vishwamitra, who wanted to show his abilities. Right? So the key thing is, there may have been a lot of people like that. When I say lot, I mean not really millions, but I'm talking of a handful of people, more than 1 or 2 people. Okay? But the one who reaches that state is not necessarily the one who is going to show it to others.
True.
Going back to Vishwamitra again. For him to even teach this Siddhi for Rama and Lakshmana, so he must have known that they are capable of getting that Siddhi.
See, the intuitively, I'm going to put it this way. You know, you have seen that sometimes when people ask for mantra, I tell them what their mantra is. At other times, I say I cannot find it. Right?
Yes.
So the thing is, basically, it is the same kind of intuitive guidance that Vishwamitra has. This knowledge that this what is the right thing for this person.
Okay, gotcha. There was a question in the class. I don't know if there's ladies here or not. she was asking that in the state of Nirbija Samadhi, when everything has fallen off, all your karma kleshas have gone pretty much. Why doesn't, if the purpose of life is to, wash away all the karmas and kleshas, and at that stage it is already done, why doesn't that person die at that moment, pass away?
See, our spiritual anchor consists of three elements. One is how much of karma kleshas we have, how much cosmic connectivity we have, and how much Atma Vidya we have. Each influences the other, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if one is there, the others are also there. Okay? So when you have Nirbija Samadhi, there is one thing that is absolutely true. Your karma kleshas are hardly anything. You're completely cleansed. Without that, you cannot have Nirbija Samadhi. But it does not guarantee that you have the highest level of Atma Vidya. But whatever it is in your own state of your mind, you have become non-reactive. But on the other hand, you don't necessarily have the highest level of awareness of everything because you have not sought it. Unless you seek, it won't come to you. Right? So what happens is, if the person has some reason for which they live, you see, there can be very, very small attachments that may hold you back. Okay? Like for example, my mother is 93 years old. Okay? And she's in what you would call frail kind of this thing. She doesn't have any serious medical complaints or anything. But she has lost a lot of weight, very fragile, frail looking kind of person. And the aging process, all of this thing. And, but people may ask the question, all her children are all taken care, what this thing and all of that. But you see, whatever it is, I'm very happy she's with me. And so what happens is, we don't know what the attachment or this thing is there when so all your Swadharma, everything is complete. Why are you still hanging around? Right? And the only answer may be that maybe there is some more Atma Vidya to be imbibed or whatever. So that is the reason you're sitting around or that kind of thing. So it is impossible for us to know what element is unfulfilled. And there is another element of it. The other element of it is, even though we may think there are no karma kleshas, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have no more dharma related activity for you to do. What happens is, when a person reaches a state of that where everything is cleared, at that point in time, for the cosmic flow, that person becomes the joker card in the pack of cards. And the idea is the person can be placed anywhere to fulfill the need of the cosmic flow. So what happens is, if you look in terms of all of creation, because of the nature of strength of avidya, and people who are live beings carried away by the reactions of the five senses and the mind, right? They will go and do things that may not be in sync with the dharma flow, with their swadharma. So if you think of it, if like a high percentage of the world are not being in sync with their swadharma, then they are deviating the cosmic flow by their contribution. Then in which case what happens is, every time anybody deviates from the cosmic flow, the entire system as a whole puts the burden on everybody to correct the cosmic flow. So what happens is, this is the reason in astrological predictions, it is said you can never ever predict with 100% accuracy, particularly in the distant future. Why is it you can never predict with 100% accuracy in the distant future? Because our astrological flow, which is basically showing the flow of our karma kleshas through the impact of the grahas, right? All that it is showing is our trajectory. The trajectory is the same, whereas the needs of the time are going to be different from one time to another based upon the needs of the cosmic flow. Therefore, keeping within the trajectory, you may be required to be pulled into different directions as needed in order to keep the balance of the cosmic flow, right? So what happens is when a person is in that state where complete nirbija samadhi and at the same time the person is alive, that is a person who may be called upon to correct any deviations in the cosmic flow, and that becomes their new swadharma which they didn't have before. So that is what I meant. In that state, a person can become a joker in the pack of cards. You can fit in wherever needed.
So this projection that you're talking about is more like for hurricanes, they have this cone of uncertainty. So it could shift this way or that way.
Yeah.
I have a question on Avatar, Dr. Rajanji. In what way, you said Narasimha Avatar is highly spiritually connected. Can you explain why that avatar is, or in what way that avatar is highly spiritually connected?
Okay, I will
He
answer.
said high Atma Vidya.
Okay,
Yes.
Atma Vidya.
Highest in Atma Vidya that I know of among all the avatars. Okay.
Okay.
And the reason for that is very simple. I'm actually giving you a logical answer, but the real understanding of it comes from an intuitive perspective. So when I give a logical answer, I'm giving it in a different way for you to understand. But the real understanding is intuitive, which cannot be explained in words. Okay?
Okay.
So the logical way for you to understand is Narasimha had the ability to come into a physical body from out of thin air and then disappear into thin air out of the physical body. Krishna did not have that ability.
Yes.
You see? In fact, what it is very interesting. In the Maharashtrian tradition, some of you may have heard of the name the
Sant Jnaneshwar.
Sant Gyaneshwar. Exactly. Now, many of you know, if you have heard the story, how for various reasons his parents committed suicide and these three children were kind of left over there destitute, and coming from this so-called Brahmin family and all of these things, these people were kind of discriminated against in the village and all of that. And so this man, basically, you have heard how he made a buffalo recite the Vedas, right? That is what people think in terms of a story of Jnaneshwar. Whereas there's another story with Jnaneshwar that is considered very interesting. That gives you the dimensionality of this that's parallel to what I told you. What happened was there was a big, Hatha Yogi kind of a person. And this Hatha Yogi kind of a person, he had all the supreme control within him. And he used to ride a tiger. So he had the ability to control a tiger. So he used to come riding on a tiger. And people who saw that were all taken aback. Oh, if this man can do this, what kind of a person this man must be, right? So the thing is, so the villagers were told this Babaji is going to come riding on the tiger. And And Sant Jnaneshwar was a resident of the village over there. And of course, unlike this Babaji, Jnaneshwar was only Jnaneshwar. There was no Babaji or anything added to his name. Okay? And when he lived his life, he wore the clothes like a normal person. He never wore saffron or anything like that. Okay? So what happened was, so Sant Jnaneshwar was over there, and he had been teaching whatever he was sharing, his knowledge and all of that, this thing. And he had never ever done any miracles for people of that nature. Okay, other than that buffalo chanting the Vedas or whatever, which he did when he was fairly young. In his later age, he didn't do, and with this display of all of these things, he never did. But people were all going gaga over this man who were riding the tiger. The Babaji is going to come. What a great man, and all of this thing. So what happened was, where Sant Jnaneshwar heard this man was coming, at that time he was sitting on a wall that was in the periphery of some of his home or something like that. So what happened is, oh, this great Babaji is coming. So let me go and welcome him, he said. And what happened is, he was sitting on the wall with a friend of his, and the entire wall lifted off the ground, and he and his friend went sailing through the air like a flying carpet, right? And they went outside the village where the Babaji was coming, riding the tiger over there. So he came through the air and landed in front of the Babaji and told him, oh Babaji, we heard you were coming, so I came to welcome you. That Babaji looked at him and said, you're riding a wall that is inanimate. It is, for this man, the Babaji, he had the ability to control any being that had Chetana. But he had no ability to connect, to control anything that is Jada. And this man has the ability to even control a Jada element. So the Babaji said, when such a great person like you is in the village, I have no business over here. He turned back and went away. He never came to the village.
Go ahead, Uma. You wanted to ask something?
No, Kumarji. Thank you.
So there is one thing that's going through in my mind recently is around the, like a chicken and egg type of a question, Dr. Rajan, mainly around vibrations, the whole sadhana we talk about, which we in our body, cleansing of, I saw in chapter 3, I'm not sure which sutra it is, but mainly talks about that's the gateway, right? Doing these sadhana to get the vibrations, realize it, your body. Is that a process in which we gain that ability to get the vibrations, or experience the vibration is the right word, or it's given at the time of birth?
See, we have to understand something. There are two traditions in the understanding of yoga. One tradition is the holistic tradition. The other is a partial tradition. Okay? The original tradition relates to that of the Yoga Sutras and the Vedic system. Whereas on the other hand, the partial system comes out of the Hatha Yoga system. Okay? Now, the Hatha Yoga system has evolved largely because of the influence of Buddhism and Tantra elements. It lacks holistic understanding. Okay? So what happens is the word sadhana comes from the Hatha Yoga tradition. Hatha means to apply force. So forcibly seeking self-realization or awareness beyond and all of these things, feeling the vibration beyond and all of that, the force-based approach is that of Hatha Yoga. Anytime you apply force, you can get into trouble also. Okay? That is why in the Hatha Yoga tradition, while everything is forceful and cleansing and all of these kinds of activities they have, they also qualify everywhere. You have to be prepared and all of this. So the key element is you have to worry about sadhana when you have to be a doer. When you give up doership, there is no sadhana. There is only being in the natural flow. That is the message of the Kriya Yoga. That is the message of the Vedic system and the Yoga Sutras. And this entire business of the Hatha Yoga and Tantra system has created confusion in the real understanding of the Vedic system. Now, just to understand how Yama and Niyama can itself take care of everything. Okay? Think of the Niyama-based living that you have kind of been used to, that you have observed within the tradition, South Indian tradition. You wake up in the morning, first thing, the lady of the household goes, cleans up the threshold and puts a little column over there, right? So what is the implication of that? Let the day begin with positive vibration. Let all the, with the grace of the divinity, let dharma flow. And so you just do it as part of this thing. Then the next thing that typically may happen is, the person may go and have a bath or whatever and this thing, and the first thing they do is they light a lamp in the home, in the altar over there, and do a namaskara and then go and do whatever, begin the rest of the day, right? And at sunset time, the lady does the same thing. But in the meantime, the man is supposed to do the Sandhya Vandana. And what happens is, in the Sandhya Vandana, when the man is a married person, they have multiple strands of the sacred thread. Each strand is of three of them, right? And so what happens is, the second strand is when he does the japa, 50% of it is for the wife, right? So what is happening is, so when you're in the niyama based approach, right? And whatever is happening is, the nature of the dharma flow is, you don't have to go out and look in the world where your duty is. The nature of the cosmic flow is your duty will come and stand in front of you. All you have to do is engage with it, true to your conscience, right? So what happens is, when you lead your life in this kind of a way, it is very interesting. The seer from Kanchi, Chandrasekhara Saraswati, right? They are what they call as Kanchi, Paramacharya. You see, when people used to go to him and ask for this thing, he will ask them, are you doing your Sandhya Vandana daily? So that was the only thing. For him it was, if you're doing your daily niyama-based activity on a regular basis, you will be fine. Whatever you need to engage, it will take care of itself. So this business of sadhana and pushing yourself to do things is the Hatha Yoga approach. It is not the Yoga Sutra and the Vedic approach. Vedic approach is be systematic in your living of life. Everything takes care of itself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think it's 6:57 and some of us will be participating in the other yoga class. So any final questions, or otherwise we can wind up? Thank you, Dr. Rajan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Rajan.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.